Welcome to the channel, viewers, as we watch the sunset. Sunrise to sunset. How's that, eh? This is Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist. Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for joining me. They say sunrise and sunset is the most dangerous time for sharks, but oh well. That's the way it goes, I suppose. As we set out. Okay, I think we're right. Let's go. Thank you for joining me, viewers. And I wanted to talk about emotional incest again. And how hard it is when you end up in the enmeshment. And what I mean by that is third person, third party in the enmeshment. You didn't plan on this. You met somebody, it could be male, female, adult or young adult. Adults end up with the parents. The young adults end up with the golden child. Could be mummy's boy or daddy's girl, or any combination like that. And I hope you're enjoying the scenery. This is how I live. I love exercise. And what happens, you've started the relationship and hit it off with this person quite well, but before you come along, they've been damaged through the breakup, breakdown within the family. This consequently has caused the parent to gravitate towards the child. And this is long before you come along. The parent now is going through the shock and trauma and all the other consequences of a breakup with somebody that they've brought children into the world with. There can be 1,000 different reasons for the breakup. Can be drugs, alcohol, lying, cheating, gambling, financial losses, just narcissistic behavior towards a partner, sex abuse, sex addiction. I really do hope you're enjoying the scenery here at Gosford on the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Sex addiction, I'm going to start speaking on that soon. And how that gets worse when the relationship starts to deteriorate. The sexual behaviour begins to deteriorate and people require or go into more deviancy, etc. As the sun goes down for the afternoon. How you going, mate? Yeah, good. They've been getting a few. Yeah. There's always a fish and chip shop. So that northerly did come in and it's blowing now. A bit late for what I was going to do, but we will get you hydrofoiling as summer draws near. So the sexual deviancy deepens under the duress of the relationship, and it's sort of a way of trying to impress the partner, but it does have negative effects on mostly the female, who for the most part doesn't appreciate this kind of behaviour. And it's sexual deviancy. I don't think you hear this very often, but in the form of a breakup, it can often be a cry for help. But it's the wrong cry for help. It's like hanging off a cliff with one hand and using that hand to reach out to somebody else and then falling. It's not the right way to go about it. It's desperate. It's desperate. It's severely desperate. As we look at the cranes in the background and the commuters heading for home. Full moon. Yeah, so as the relationship deteriorates, the children, adult children or teenage children watching this, some of them will intervene in the arguing and take on a intermediary role in conflict with one or both of the parents, or either of the parents, depending on the context of the argument. And this causes duress in the mind of the adult child. I've seen this, I've experienced this. It's very confusing because there is a substructure in our psyche that does depend on the health and happiness of the parents, and if there's a breakdown or fighting, it undermines the deep core elements of the foundation of who we are, because stability in the parent relationship has a lot to do with the psychological formation in the children. And the more skew-if the relationship between the parents, the more skew-if the psychological development in the child. And it might only be in micro-incremental ways, but it's definitely a physiological phenomenon that is real, because in my bricklaying career as a contractor, I've had 13 or 14 apprentices and only 2 made it. And the 2 that made it, the parents were together. They came from stable families. Now that says a lot. And one of them, their parents did break up. He went on to go okay. But the one that his parents just stayed together, solid, he is solid as well. He made all the right decisions. He's got himself a fantastic young family, a house. He made all the right decisions, that bloke. And I believe, personally, from what I saw, a lot of that has to do with the stability within the parental relationship. You could just see it as plain as day. So it's very unfortunate when adults do separate and there's children involved, because it does impact the children. They're the meat in the sandwich. And not enough consideration is given to this. And I think more should be considered when it comes to how breakups are going to impact the psychological formation, spiritual and emotional formation of the children, because they do get damaged at all different extents and in all different ways depending on the individuals, but they do get damaged, terribly damaged. And this can cause addictions because now their identity goes outward. They go looking for people that they can look up to, and in my case it was a couple of the bikies that lived around where we were, and that sent me from a path that would have consisted of surfing. I was still a surfer, but it was like another dimension come into my life by way of a bikie mentality. It was at this point I had a quick view of drugs and alcohol, which I didn't agree with and didn't want to participate in, due to what I saw happening in the lives of the people that were doing it. And so I learned a lot from that, actually, but I lost a lot of time. We do lose a lot of time. This is the thing, people who pursue alcohol and drugs and all these other things, they don't realize how much time they're wasting, valuable time, out of their lives. They just don't realize. And when you wake up, depending on when you wake up, whether you be young like I was or 50 or 60, you look back with severe regret as to what you've done to yourself. And this happens to a lot of narcissists. They abuse themselves and everyone around them to keep up their habits. Okay. Central Coast Marine Rescue, Central Coast Marine Rescue, Central Coast Marine Rescue. This is CC-130, positioned in Brisbane water at the stadium end, requesting a location check relative to mobile positioning through the app. Over.
CC-130, can we go up to channel 73, over?
Marine Rescue, CC-130 to channel 73.
CC-130, CC-130, this is Marine Rescue Central Coast, over.
Marine Rescue Central Coast, CC-130 copies. Do you have mobile phone positioning awareness at Marine Rescue, over?
I can send a text message to you which you then respond to, and it will confirm your lat and long. Is that what you're meaning, over?
Marine Rescue Central Coast, I was under the impression this morning when they were speaking to me that if I carry my mobile phone, that does give you real-time location. Is that correct or incorrect? Over.
Only on your app log on, over.
Okay, Marine Rescue Central Coast, is it really necessary for me to bring the phone and inclusive of the radio? Over.
CC-130, just saying again, Central Coast, Marine Rescue Central Coast is in fact closed for the evening, and this is Marine Rescue Sydney operating on their behalf, over.
Okay. Marine Rescue Sydney, thank you. Do you think it's necessary for me to bring the mobile phone? I'm a windsurfer, sup paddler, and weight's a big factor. Is my radio enough security for me on the water, Marine Rescue Sydney? Over.
The radio, so long as the battery is fully charged, is more than adequate in your area. There's plenty of reception. The mobile phone is a safety backup which you can or cannot take with you, but 2 is always better than 1, but 1 should be more than adequate. Over.
Marine Rescue Sydney, thank you for your assistance. CC-130 to follow through with app procedures and out.
Romeo, Marine Rescue Central Coast out.
Yeah, so full moon again, viewers. I don't know if you can see that through the lens of the camera. I'm sorry about that. I had to do a registration check relative to location and which way to go. Obviously I just need my radio. I don't need to haul around my mobile phone. So one of the big things that's happening to people today is self-abuse, substance abuse. Masturbation's a big one, just by way of sex, which is really not, I guess there is a place for it, but it want to be appropriate. I'm not into it myself. I never have been. I don't like it. But then again, maybe I'm a bit of a fuddy-duddy because I don't like alcohol, drugs or nicotine or anything like that either. But I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to give advice. And part of my advice is to strengthen yourself by pulling back away from these codependent chemical substances and self-abusive behaviours. And I believe you can do that one step at a time, one positive step at a time, and you might take 2 steps back. I always say this because it's not an automatic positive. It's not an automatic, you're just going to make it. It's a journey. It'll have highs and lows. You'll rise and fall. You'll win and lose. But the object is to have the vision for the end result. And the end result is for you to come back to yourself. And that's going to take determination. But as you take those initial steps and build momentum, right, and get your energy, start getting your energy back, start creating some healthy boundaries around your emotional and intimate output, you'll find that you'll begin to gain mental strength, and your reward system, your inner reward system will start to trigger, and your mind will pick up on this, and you'll start to say to yourself, this is more valuable, this is far more valuable to me now that I'm getting my consciousness towards myself back. This is far more valuable to me than going backwards and getting the sensations and feelings that I'm receiving from these substances and chemicals. And you can be out in clear air, and I wouldn't say the battle's over, but you can see massive gains just within a month of making these decisions. And this is what I'm trying to encourage people to do, because I've seen too much harm, too much pain, loss of life before their time, loss of relationships that shouldn't have been lost, psychological maladaptive behaviours and just destructive behaviour comes out of all of this, and the losses as a result of it are not worth what the gains are to be rid of it. But it all comes down to how much you can turn around and begin to value yourself. because your value is not determined by the things that are happening to you and have happened to you. Your value is real time. It can be effective starting from now. I've had several women say to me, I'm not worthy, or I don't feel important, and it had nothing to do with me. And it was something that they seriously needed to deal with to get their lives where they needed to be. And at the end of the day, the only person that can do it is the person themselves. Look at that, viewers, that's absolutely sensational. I hope you're enjoying the view here at Gosford on the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. And this is why the wisdom of God, just the wisdom of God. Thanks, mate. Was when he said to love your neighbour. He didn't just say love your neighbour. This is the amazing thing. He said to love your neighbour as yourself. That was the key. The as yourself, because you can do good things for your neighbour and all that, but it won't be as rich and as... Okay, so you might say, what about the widow and her 2 mites? Well, that's all she had. Will you say, well, who I am, isn't it enough? Well, that depends. Are you really what you can be? Or are you the victim of your own demise? Because a lot of people, the masses now, are blaming mental health and laziness and gluttony and all these other things. I've been abused and this and that, and I take nothing away from any of that as a means of justifying their dysfunction. And there's really no need for that. Everything starts, believe me, viewers, right down to paying your rent with yourself, and it ends with yourself. The church will only come to your rescue for a certain amount of time. The friends will only come to your rescue for a certain amount of time, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come back to yourself. And that might suit many of you, because many of you have got nobody left except yourself and your possible family members. A lot of you don't get on with family members. A lot of you are covertly estranged or have severe serial resentment and bitterness towards family members, and that's fine, but it still brings you back to yourself. It all comes back to yourself, all of it. And I think what Jesus was saying is, hang on guys, let's just start with ourselves, let's get ourselves right, and then let's build on that. But because what he say, what's the point in a man gaining the whole world and then losing his own soul? Right? You can gain the whole world, and this is what people say, money doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now let's look at you and your soul. Okay, how are you with your soul? Have you got that right? Because if you've got no money and you've got no soul, you're out of order with your soul. You're in a real serious situation, right, viewers? You can gain the whole world, but what's the point of it if you lose your own soul? What if you're poor and you lose your soul? Gosh, that's even worse. Because I know people that aren't so well off, that have been in the same predicament as the rich with their soul. Just haven't got it right. So if this video has helped you, remember you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. If it has helped you, or you've related to it in some way or another, to be inspired or encouraged, or at least to think about things in a much deeper and healthier way for yourself, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it if you think it's going to help somebody else. All my material is shareable. You've been with Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, in Gosford on the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Exercising on the SUP. We did, I think it was about half an hour or so, or something, 20 minutes or half an hour. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.